Hello and welcome back to episode 17 of the Middle Ground podcast. Today is all about steps. But first, I need to go on a little bit of a rant because I've bought a Monster, right? I've gone to the co-op down the road. They've got regular 500ml Monster, £2. Then they've got the 553ml Monster, the big one, for £1.75. It's bigger, it's cheaper. Of course I'm going to buy it. However, the lids on these Monsters are the most insane thing I've ever come across. Why the fuck are you making a lid that works like that? That one always makes it explode. Who needs a lid that can reclose on a Monster? If you're not drinking a Monster in a single sitting, you don't deserve to have a Monster. It doesn't make sense to me. And also, if you're making a bigger version, why are you making it bigger by 50ml? That's a sip. You get like an extra sip. Anyway, those are my gripes. And I'm a big Monster stan. I'm a big white monster guy. White Monster for a white monster. Anyway, today is all about steps. In episode 5 of the Fat Loss Foundations, going to talk about steps, going to talk about NEAT, common barriers that come up and why people struggle to hit their steps and then how to overcome those barriers. So a very interesting one. Again, I'm going to try to keep these quick because I want these to be little snacks, little bite-sized pieces of information that you can take that create a whole picture. I don't want to be going on hour-long episodes and rants about a single tiny topic. So let's dive straight in. I'm going to explain what NEAT is, first of all. Right, so it stands for Non-Exercise Activity Thermogenesis, and it is a part of your total daily energy expenditure, or your TDEE, right? However, it is one of the biggest parts of your TDEE, other than your BMR, right? Which is your basal metabolic rate, so the amount of calories that you burn at rest from just existing, okay? So it makes up about 15% of the total daily energy expenditure of your TDE, whereas EAT, or exercise activity thermogenesis, so direct exercise, running, walking for exercise, training, all of these things come under the classification of exercise activity thermogenesis. They make up about 5% of your TDEE. So it's quite a big difference there. 3 times your TDEE comes from NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And that is any movement that isn't exercise, right? So if you're walking to the shops, that's not exercise. But if you're just gone for a walk for exercise, that class is exercise. So there are some grey areas here. But generally, doing the laundry, going shopping, jiggling your legs, anything, any movement that isn't classed as exercise or isn't done as exercise, it's kind of like a byproduct of another activity. So if you're walking while you're going shopping, for example, right, that's not the point, but you get it, you get the gist, right? So it's quite a lot of the things you do in a day would classify as NEAT. Now, why steps, in my opinion, beat cardio for most people? This is, again, under the very specific umbrella of fat loss. I also apologise for the light. It's coming right through this tiny little gap at the top of the window, and it's really annoying. So if you're watching this, I apologise, but I imagine most people are listening, so it doesn't really matter. So, why, in my opinion, steps beat cardio? Unless your goal is a cardiovascularly demanding one, like running a marathon or doing a high rocks, doing an ATHEX, whatever it is. Obviously, I highly recommend having some sort of cardiovascular activity, something that gets your heart rate up in your routine. I do it with my clients, I do it with myself. It's, in my opinion, an overlooked part of general health. But if we're talking specifically about fat loss, and specifically about consistent routine, steps are king. Because they help you emphasize a general active lifestyle. So it's not this crazy, I need to get up and I need to go for a run, and then that's my exercise for the day, or I just train and that's my exercise for the day. If you're focused on getting 7, 8, 9, 10,000 steps a day, it emphasizes to you that you have to move more generally. You have to walk places, you have to get up and move throughout the day. You're not just going to hit it in one walk unless you're a psycho and going out get your 10k steps in and then that's it for the day. That's not many people are doing that. So it makes you conscious of sitting for too long and being less active than you normally are. It's quite an important target because of the emphasis it has on general movement. They also don't require a lot of willpower. Like, you can get most people out for a 10-minute walk 3 times a day. It's not a lot. Whereas if I told someone you're going to go for a run every single day, that requires a lot more willpower, a lot more motivation, a lot more drive to go and do, as opposed to a simple walk. And then finally, the recovery cost is a lot lower. As you get fitter, the ability to recover from a walk and the impact it has on recovery is minimal, because it's not a large physical stimulus. As opposed to going on a run, there's a lot of impact. Again, love running. Nothing against running. However, they do have a recovery cost, and a higher recovery cost than going for a walk. You can get someone to walk 10,000 steps every single day, and it won't have any recovery cost, really, over time. You get used to it very quickly. You'll acclimatize very quickly. Whereas running, if I had to go and run 10,000 steps every day, that's really going to add up. That's 5 miles a day. It adds up physically. It makes it much harder to recover from than walking those 5 miles. And now, let's talk a little bit about realistic targets for you to hit, because 10,000 steps is thrown around a lot. And later, after this bit, I'll get onto where the 10,000 step thing comes from, because it's fascinating. But 10,000 steps is thrown around as this gold standard of exercise and of general movement and of steps specifically. But nothing happens. There's no surcharge when you go over 10,000 steps that, nothing happens before 10,000 and then after 10,000 it's just exponential benefits. No. If you can get 1,000 to 2,000 more steps than you currently get, it will make your fat loss easier. And again, the reason it makes fat loss easier is because it ups your energy expenditure without necessarily costing you anything. So your calorie deficit is easier to adhere to. That's it. That's the main reason why steps are so useful, because they don't make you hungry, whereas running, for most people, spikes their appetite quite a bit. So they don't make you hungry. They don't take a lot of willpower to do. You can fit them in multiple times throughout the day. They don't require any special equipment. And they just have a very low recovery cost. They will make your deficit easier to adhere to just by getting more steps in. So this 10K target doesn't mean anything. But if you can get more steps in than you currently do, so if you're at 5,000, if you can get 7,000, if you're at 6,000, try and get 8,000. Right, that's an extra 20 to 30 minutes of walking a day, if that. About 20 minutes. So there's about 2,000 steps in a mile. So it's about 16 to 20 minutes of walking at a relative 3 miles an hour. So it's not mental to up your steps by 2,000. You've probably got 20 minutes. Look at your screen time. This is the important thing. Look at your screen time. Tell me where you got 20 minutes. Because you probably got 20 minutes somewhere that you can go out and get an extra 2,000 steps in. So, where does 10,000 steps come from? Because my God, I did not know this. So I'm going to read it because I want to get it accurate. The 10,000 steps a day goal originated from a 1960s marketing campaign in Japan for an early pedometer called the Mampo Kai, which translates to 10,000 steps meter. It was launched around the 1964 Tokyo Olympics, with the number chosen because of the Japanese character for 10,000, which looks like a person walking. It was deemed catchy, achievable, and motivating as a target. How fascinating. 10,000 steps is a really great amount of steps to get in a day. That's not me saying that you shouldn't be proud for getting 10,000 steps. It's just that it isn't this golden standard, and it's not magic. It takes a conscious, deliberate effort to achieve 10,000 steps. Not many people are getting 10,000 steps a day by accident. I think that's why it's quite a good target for people. Because even me, I live a relatively active lifestyle. Obviously, I have a sedentary job as a coach. I just sit at a computer. But a general active lifestyle, I still have to try to get 10,000 steps a day. If I don't consciously think about going out for walks and getting 10,000 steps, it won't happen. And I think that's why it's quite a good target, because it is a deliberate target for a lot of people. So now, I'm going to talk and introduce a few ways that you can make steps easier for yourself to achieve without deliberately having to walk for 2 hours a day, basically. There's small changes you might be able to make, the small habit swaps that you can make that will make it easier to achieve. But first, I'm going to have a little sip of a Monster. Goodness gracious me. That is special stuff. That is nectar. Right. A couple ways that you can make steps easier to achieve. Park further away from places. Very simply. if you park further away from your job, if you park a mile away from your job, that's an extra 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back, extra 2 miles a day. That's pretty good. That's an extra 4,000 steps in your day, just like that. Bomb. Park further at the back of a shop, car park. If you're going to go get the food shop in, park at the back of the car park rather than the front. That might add an extra 500 steps each way. Maybe, right, if we think about it. So you might get an extra 1,000 steps in. Seriously, these things can be so minor, but they can really add up. Take the stairs when you have the opportunity. Don't rely on lifts. Don't rely on escalators. If there's stairs next to them, take them. Might not seem like a lot, but if you think about the amount of flights of stairs that you climb over time, there's a lot of them. And it does add up massively. Again, little things, but they do add up. Takes no time out of your day. But you can do it. This is a weird one, but stay with me. If you have a smaller water bottle at work, it means you have to go fill it up more. So you go and get more steps in. If you have a 1.5 litre water bottle, which is a big water bottle, you might only have to fill that up once, if that. Like, I know a lot of people that don't drink enough water. They are not drinking 1.5 litres in a day at work. If you have a 500ml water bottle, that might be 3 or 4 fill-ups throughout the course of a day. Maybe even a smaller one, maybe a 300ml. Again, it sounds pointless. However, if you drink water, you've got an excuse to get up and go fill your bottle up and sit back down at work. That might add an extra 1,000, 1,500 steps in your day, depending on how big the workplace is and how far away the tap is. Or go to a different tap, one that is further away. Go somewhere else to eat lunch is the next one. So that's not me telling you to go out for lunch. But if you eat your lunch at your desk normally, go out, find a bench to go sit on and eat your lunch. Go find another place in wherever you work to go and eat your lunch. Make things a little bit more inconvenient. A lot of it's just manufactured inconvenience because the world is too convenient nowadays. So that you don't have to move. You don't have to go anywhere to do anything. You don't have to leave your house. You can have food delivered to your door in 7 taps of a phone. That's unbelievable. So we need to manufacture inconvenience into your day so that you have to do more. You have to make more movement. You have to do more steps. And then you can pace between steps at the gym. So if you finished a set, you just start walking back and forth. Walk around the bench. Don't leave your machine unattended because someone will come and steal it. I know how gyms work. Someone will fucking come and steal that shit. But if you pace back and forth, you might, throughout the course of a 45-minute, hour-long training session, you might get an extra 1,000 steps in. Again, these little things do just add up and make your fat loss easier, more straightforward. Okay? So, we're going to finish up with common barriers and then how to overcome them. So, a lot of common barriers. So, you might be sitting there now thinking multiple things that I'm about to say as to why this won't work for you. And I'm about to tell you why it will. You might be going, I've got a sedentary job or desk work. We've already hit that. Multiple things in there. Parking further away, taking the stairs, smaller water bottle, go somewhere else to eat lunch. All of those things you can use, okay? Lack of time or a busy schedule, maybe fatigue, low energy, low motivation. Environmental constraints, especially UK in the winter, it's dark. If you're a woman, I probably don't recommend you going out for a walk. I hate that that's the world we live in, but you've got to be safe. Like, I never think about it. I don't think twice about going out for a walk in the dark. I put my headphones on and I go for a walk. But it's a realistic thing that, 50% of my audience have to face. So again, there's definitely legitimate environmental constraints there. But there's ways around it depending on how much you want to achieve this goal. Again, you can get a walking pad. 100 quid, maybe even cheaper, 80. Lay it on the floor, doesn't take as much space at all. It's not like getting a treadmill. You put it against your wall, packs away nice and easy, but then you've got a place to walk in the evening when you come home and there's not anywhere, you can't go out and get your steps in. You don't have to go to the gym to use a treadmill. If you've got 80 quid and you're struggling to get your steps in, walking pad might be the shout for you. Or all or nothing mindsets. Very much a big thing when it comes to steps. I hear a lot of people go, well, it's just walking. What the fuck's it going to do for me? Or it's not proper training. You may as well go for a run. And yeah, it's not meant to be training. There's literally the point is that it doesn't really have a physical impact on you apart from increasing your energy expenditure and getting you some fresh air and some sunlight, right? So if you think it doesn't count and you've got this all or nothing mindset, then I need you to get rid of that because it's not going to help you. And then habitual sedentary behavior. If it's just not a part of your habits or routine, that's a very real thing. But we need to start getting it in there and so that it is a habit. So when we talk about overcoming these, there's a few things. We've got exercise snacking. So exercise snacks is when you break up long periods of sedentary behavior, sitting at a desk, whatever it is, with short periods of exercise. So it might be getting up and doing 10 bodyweight squats, or it might be getting up for a 10-minute walk, or it might be doing some push-ups, right? These little things. If every hour you do 10 push-ups, you do 80 push-ups at the end of the day. You've nearly done 100 push-ups, right? Like it's a real thing. And it gets the blood going around your body, it invigorates you, and it stops this sedentary mindset. It just helps flick the identity there a little bit. Active commuting. So if you can walk to work, walk to work. If you can ride to work, ride to work. If you can just park further away from your job and walk there, do it. Right? If you live ages away from your work, that's fine. I'm not asking you to walk 6 miles to work and 6 miles back. But why didn't you drive 5 miles and park a mile away and then walk to your car a mile each way? Right? It's not rocket science. Very simple switches, very simple habits. Habit stacking. So you're pairing a habit that you want to include with a current habit that you currently have. For example, I do my Duolingo when I brush my teeth or when I'm on the treadmill at the gym, because those are things I already do, so I don't have to remember it. Walking at the gym is a big one for me. If I finish my session, I get on the treadmill, I do 10 minutes, I do 15 minutes, and that's when I do my Duolingo. But that's a habit stack on a habit stack, because I'm in the gym, which is my ingrained habit, and then I get my steps on top of that, which is my stack. And then I stack Duolingo on top of that. There's no end to these things. There's no end to them. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to need to mute my phone because I'm about to get a bunch of notifications come through. Yeah, that's massive. Okay? So habit stack. When you've got a phone call, go for a walk. Big one for me. If I'm having a phone call with someone, I will go for a walk. Or, what else? You're waiting for the kettle to boil. Do some push-ups. Do some squats. Very simple things, but they do add up. Again, a lot of this comes back to small things adding up over time. Or you use technology. If you're forgetful, if it's not a habit yet, if it's, there's sedentary behavior quite ingrained in you, set a timer for every hour, get up, do something. Do something. Even if it's getting up, stretching and touching your toes, sitting back down. These things are about small behaviors that add up over time and change your identity to someone that is active and that moves. And then these build on, for a week you might be touching your toes. Then next week you might do 10 squats. Then next week you might do 20 squats. Then the week after you might go for a 10-minute walk. You see, it all adds up and accumulates. So I can't stress this enough that steps are one of the most important habits you will ingrain for this long-term progress. For this long-term sustained progress towards the physique that you want, the body that you want, and then maintaining that when you get there. One of the best habits I've ever given myself is walking. I know so many people that don't walk. So many people that don't walk. Especially, if you don't have a dog, most people aren't going for walks every day. But I am. I'm putting my headphones on. I'm going out for a stroll multiple times a day. 2-3 times a day sometimes. Just to get my steps in. Just to keep me active. And it's because it's a part of my identity now. I am someone that is generally active. I am someone that gets my steps in. It's a part of my person. It's a part of my identity. The same way training is. The same way eating nutritionally is. The more you do these things, the more they get ingrained as behaviors. And then your behaviors and your actions consistently build your identity and the way that you see yourself. So if you can get these things through these small swaps, taking the stairs, parking further away, eating further away from your wherever you work, whatever it is, if you can ingrain these habits very simply and very small, then they begin to change your identity. Then you get bigger habits. You might go for massive walks on the weekend. You might go for big walks in the morning. Whatever it is, you add up these behaviors over time, change your identity, and then your progress becomes much more effortless, per se, right? So I hope this was helpful. Your action point from this podcast is to increase your steps by 1,000 or 2,000 a day. Again, an extra 10 or 20 minutes walking. Go after a meal, right? Postprandial walks are huge. If you've just eaten, if you go for a walk, your digestion's through the roof. It's so much better, right? Anyway, I'll leave it there for this week. I hope you have all enjoyed. I've enjoyed. I think this is a really important topic and something that I personally am very invested in as a habit. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, follow along on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're watching this. Thank you very much for watching, giving your time to me. It means a lot. Have a great week, and I will speak to you in the next episode of Fat Loss Foundations. This has been the Middle Ground Podcast. Have a great week. See you later.